Indeed, a very good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Sarafina Robi and today we get to speak to the 15th Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya and the 3rd under the 2010 Constitution, the Honorable Chief Justice Martha Koome. Welcome on KBC Channel 1 News.
Thank you very much, Sarafina, for inviting me to your show. Thank you very much for having me today.
Indeed, and congratulations, and also thank you for giving us the first television interview as the Chief Justice of Kenya.
Thank you. You know, this is KBC, is the voice of Kenya. It's the TV that we interacted with in the 60s. So I'm excited to give you this first show as the first television station because I think you deserve it. Yes.
Well, thank you very much. Now, on getting the news of your nomination and when your name was forwarded to the President, there were so many reactions in the country. At this particular time, where were you and what was your first reaction on getting this news?
Well, Sarafina, this is a job I applied for with my entire soul and body and spirit, ready to serve Kenyans. And when it was announced by the Judicial Service Commission that I was nominated, I was absolutely grateful to Almighty God and to the Judicial Service Commission for nominating me and giving me the honor and privilege to serve Kenyans. My name was forwarded to Parliament, to the National Assembly for vetting, and I also went through the vetting. Subsequently, I was sworn in the office. So I continuously remain grateful to Kenyans. They have encouraged me. They have wished me well. I've received numerous messages of goodwill, of encouragement, of pledges of support from Kenyans from all over the country, from institutions, professional bodies, diplomatic corps. I've had numerous courtesy calls by professional bodies, by the UN. I really cannot count them, religious organizations. They have come here to pray for me. My colleagues in the judiciary, in the Supreme Court, judges, magistrates, judiciary staff, outpouring of support and messages of encouragement. And that has really embodied me that Kenyans accept my leadership, they accept me, and they are ready to work with me because justice cuts across everybody. And it is indeed the responsibility of everybody to feel like they have something to contribute towards enhancing the cause of justice, towards strengthening the judiciary.
Indeed.
So before I even say anything, I just want to tell Kenyans, thank you very much for this honor and privilege, which I take with utmost humility and grace to serve them. And I dedicate myself completely to serve them as a servant of the Constitution and of Kenyans.
Indeed. And also there was a lot of celebration even from your hometown, given that you had said you were born in Meru, in Kethio village. Could you please paint for us a picture of your upbringing that shaped you into what you are today?
Very rich upbringing. And this is something I tell Kenyans because, as you know, I have a background of supporting children. I'm a champion for children's rights. I'm a defender of children's rights. And I know how rich it is to bring up a child in the village. Because actually the child in the village belongs to the community. It is the responsibility of the community to see that child grow. I was surrounded by loving uncles, aunties, neighbors. My grandfather, very, very encouraging, used to call me all manner of pet names. And taking responsibility, because once you live in the village, you look around and see how can I support my mother to relieve the pain that my mother goes through every day, to fend for us, 9 of us, with no income, with no cash crops, just growing food for us to eat and sell the surplus. and get whatever else we needed to get from the little income that we get from selling produce in the market. Very rich life that makes you very responsible. And my mother, who was very prayerful woman, so I understand the role played by religion in bringing up our children, because it tells us what not to do, how to be responsible, how to be disciplined, how to listen to your parents. So, you know, it's a very rich upbringing that I had in Kevio village. I'm very, very proud of that life. I don't think I would have been who I am today were it not for that upbringing that I experienced as a child.
You were a firstborn in the family?
I was the eighth born in a family of 18. My father was a polygamist, so we were 18 of us. My mother was the first wife, so you know the struggle of growing up from peasants' parents who did not have a standing income, a job, or, you know, anywhere to draw an income from other than what we grew in our pieces of land and what we gathered for eating and for selling. But it was sufficient, because what mattered was the love and the acceptance. I was completely accepted by my siblings, by my uncles, my aunties. We went to church with my mother every Wednesday evening and every Sunday. And all these conferences, Christian revival conferences that happened in the 60s, I attended all of them as a child. I got saved, I don't know how many times, because as a child they say, oh, those who are not saved come forward. So I would go forward and say I'm saved, until maybe the 15th time my mother told me, but you got saved the other day, so I stopped getting saved. So when these days people ask, when did you get saved? I tell them I got saved so many times I don't remember when. So that was the kind of upbringing I had. Yes.
That was really nice. It really honed your leadership skills.
Yes.
And now that you've gotten into the judiciary, what has been your priority for the first 100 days in office?
The last 100 days, I've seen a lot of milestones. We have been able to achieve quite a bit of successes in many areas. And this also allowed me to thank the many, many supporters who have given me support. My colleagues here in the judiciary, judges, the directorates, many, many support I've received also from partners to be able to achieve what we have achieved in the last 100 days. First of all, I can talk about access to justice. During my interview, remember, I was asked, what am I going to do about the stalemate that was there regarding the appointment of the 40 judges? And my simple answer was that I'm a solution solver. I mean, I've solved problems. I'm a problem solver. I always look for a solution. Every problem that I encounter, I look for a solution. That's how I decide cases, because I'm an adjudicator. So there is always problems to be solved, solutions to be found. And you find solutions everywhere, because if a problem has emerged, the same way it emerged, there must be a solution.
Indeed.
So I said that is the boldness and the expertise I'm bringing in this office of solving problems, building relationships, dialogue, and building partnerships. So my first engagement as the Chief Justice was to attend the Madaraka Day celebrations, which happened in Kisumu, and to visit the law courts in Kisumu. When I visited the law courts in Kisumu, I was really concerned about the delivery of justice because of the shortage of judges that there was. We, for instance, had one environment and land court judge covering 3 counties to hear land and environment disputes. And you know, they are emotive. I was taken around the registries. The Court of Appeal had been closed in Kisumu for 2 years because of shortage of judges. And that was the same case in Mombasa and in Nyeri. Appeals are ready for hearing, but they cannot be heard because there are no judges. So litigants are frustrated, they are coming to court, there is a cost to it because you know some litigants really struggle to access justice. Somebody has probably sold their livestock, a goat or a cow, to be able to raise money to file a case, even to instruct a lawyer, or even to get transport to come to court. So when I came back, I asked for the file from Judicial Service Commission. And I realized that in July 2019, 40 names were forwarded to the President for appointment into the office of judge. There were 11 judges of the Court of Appeal and 20 judges of Environment and Land Court and Employment and Labor Courts. And I said, let me write a letter to His Excellency the President asking for an appointment to discuss generally the administration of justice. And I listed 3 things in that letter. I said, let's discuss about the appointment of the 40 judges. Let us discuss the institutionalization of the Judiciary Fund and also the budgetary allocation for the judiciary. The letter went. I was pleasantly surprised. In less than 2 days, there was a Gazette notice announcing that 34 judges have been appointed. I was very happy and I thanked the President, but it was bittersweet. As you know, 6 of them were not gazetted. And I continued to plead that let also the 6 be appointed. But for the time being, what has the 34 judges done in ensuring there is access to justice? The Court of Appeal now has 18 judges. So our bench in Mombasa and in Kisumu is hearing matters. We have 3 benches here in Nairobi, 1 dedicated to criminal appeals. We have 1 bench that can now go to Nyeri and go to Nakuru to hear appeals. So we have reduced the pressure of cases that are waiting to be heard in the Court of Appeal. The Environment and Land Court received 18 judges. They have been sent to 8 new counties to deliver justice there, to hear cases there. Counties of Kwale, we have Vihiga, which did not have a judge before, Nyamira, and all of them, 8 new counties now have ELC judge. So we are accessing justice to Kenyans. And as far as I'm concerned, for me, the appointment of 34 judges within my first month in office is a great milestone. We continue to ask and plead that even the 6 be appointed in office, because I don't see what prejudice is being suffered. There are judges, there are outstanding judges who are already serving in the High Court. One is a magistrate serving and another one is a registrar. And I trust that within the shortest time, they will also be sworn in office so that this stalemate can be cleared and we can move on to recruit more judges, because we need about 20 more judges of the High Court in office. So that is one thing I've done. The small claims courts is also another game changer. As you know, it was established 2 weeks before I came in office. And what I've done since I've come in office is to support the small claims court. The jurisdiction of that court is 1 million shillings. But what is very unique about that court is that cases are earned and completed within 60 days. It touches and appeals to so many Kenyans. Kenyans in businesses, somebody who is owed money here and there, someone who has been involved in a personal injury matter, accident, personal injury claim of less than $1 million, they prefer to go to that court because they'll get justice in 60 days. So this is a court that is needed everywhere. And when I looked around, I saw there is a lot of infrastructure development in Nairobi metropolis by the NMS under General Mbandi. So I put a request that where you're building hospitals, can you also build for us small claims court? And that was received very positively. And we have been allocated land in 5 locations in Nairobi to build the small claims courts. The plans, the buildings have been approved, including furniture. They are procuring the services of construction, and I'm told it will take only 60 days when they start, and we'll be launching those small claims courts in Fuata Nyayo, in Mathare, Dagoretti, Embakasi, and Kasarani. So instead of people having to travel that way to come to Milimani small claims courts, they can access those small claims courts in those places. We have also engaged with the county of governors because you know justice is required all over the country. Even people outside Nairobi require small claims courts. And we are at advanced stages of seeing how this can be rolled out. In fact, Nakuru has already embraced the opening one very soon in Naivasha. And let me tell you, the statistics are just amazing. Just in the last 100 days, 1,200 cases have been filed in the small claims courts, and about 750 have been resolved. So really, this is what I call access to justice. And because I visited that court, is so dear to me at the Milimani Commercial Court, Magistrates Court. Building partnerships and collaboration with the other stakeholders, because justice doesn't belong to the judiciary alone, it belongs to everybody. It belongs to the Nairobi County. I went there, and the road leading to the Chief Magistrates Court was very bad. And I came here, I wrote a letter to Kenya with a copy to NMS. I said, please make for us that road. I'm happy the road also to the small claims court, including the parking lots, are being repaired, being renovated, so we can easily access the small claims court. So my other days have been impactful in many ways. Yesterday, I had an engagement with our Director of Performance, and he was telling me within those 100 days, the number of cases that have been filed have increased by that 1%. And that is a mark of expression of confidence in my leadership. Those are the ones of the director, they are not mine. But even the rate of completion of cases, dealing with backlog, because backlog is a serious problem in the judiciary. We are seeing a higher rate of clearance of backlog of cases because we have engaged the leadership of the judiciary. I've even expanded that leadership to include magistracy, tribunals, the caddies, and the judiciary staff to come into the management of the judiciary, which I chair with the Deputy Chief Justice, the Principal Judge of the High Court, the President of the Court of Appeal, and representatives of all the courts. So we come together to see how can we ensure that we are accessing justice to Kenyans. And we have continued to dialogue, and also with the court stations, end-of stations, presiding judges, for everybody to take responsibility of their docket. When I'm a judge, I have the authority of the Chief Justice to employ innovative ways of resolving disputes. And I have commitment from judges. Actually, they are actively managing their cases. There is no case that should remain in the registry without active management. Either the case is being fixed for hearing by the clerk, it is being given directions by the registrar of the court station, or it's before the judge for hearing, or it's before the court annex mediation for them to resolve, because we are also recognizing that the court annex mediation is another game changer. So I'm encouraging Kenyans to embrace alternative dispute resolutions by embracing these multi-door approaches. In fact, my vision is social justice, is a social transformation through access to justice. I want to see Kenyans who are empowered to know their rights, to take agency of their own circumstances, and want to find solutions for the problems that they encounter. When I have a problem, I know I can solve it myself, the same way I created this problem. Especially matters involving families. Surely we should be able to solve them, at the community level with our church leaders. We should be able, because even when we come to court, there is no magic that the court employs. If it is succession, a father has died or a mother has died, the children are entitled to the estate equally. Do you need the court to tell you that? You can tell yourself that and go ahead to share that estate without having to come to court. So I'm looking forward to Kenyans embracing justice, because indeed everybody wants to be treated fairly, justly. You also treat the other person fairly and justly.
That's all you've done so far for the first 100 days.
Yes.
And you've mentioned about the 34 judges. Now, what remains of the fate, what's the fate of the remaining 6 judges that were not gazetted?
Like I said, these are serving judges, outstanding jurists serving in their stations wherever they are. And we are expecting them to be sworn anytime. I cannot discuss that matter further. I think there are proceedings in court, other than just say that we are looking forward to them being sworn in anytime. I'll leave it at that.
And given that you're the 15th Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, your predecessors have been viewed on 2 aspects, on matters of jurisprudence and administrative functions. As you come in, how do you intend to gel the two to ensure that you succeed in both jurisprudence and administrative work as a Chief Justice?
That law and responsibility of Chief Justice is defined in the Constitution. As far as my work as the President of the Supreme Court is concerned, it's also further spelled out in the Supreme Court Act. I'm a judge. I resolve disputes. I'm also an administrator because I'm the head of the judiciary. There is nothing that I do alone. In the Supreme Court, as you know, we are 7 of us. It's a collegial court. The new constitution, we still continue calling it new, but it's now 11 years old. We celebrate it. I cannot fathom how this office used to operate before the Constitution 2010. Because the Constitution 2010 has strengthened the office of the Chief Justice. I have a Deputy Chief Justice who supports me in the discharge of my leadership roles, and also is a judge in the Supreme Court, the Vice President. So when I'm not sitting in the Supreme Court, the Deputy Chief Justice is the Vice President of the Supreme Court. And when she is also not sitting, there is the senior most judge who presides over that court. So it's a collegial court. We are all, I'm just one among equals in the Supreme Court. I'm entitled to 1 vote there. And therefore, we look at matters, we have vibrant discussions and engagement, and deliver judgments according to the cases that are before me there. This is work I've done for the last 18 years as a judge, and 15 years as an advocate, practicing law in these courts, actively involved in the courts. And as far as administration is concerned, I also sit as the chairperson of the Judicial Service Commission, that they charge with the responsibility of ensuring the promotion and protection of the independence of the judiciary and accountability, which means we recruit and discipline and deal with all the disciplinary cases for the judiciary. As far as learning, the judiciary itself is concerned, it's a very structured institution with directorates and very, very senior professionals who are handling those directorates, and each one of them is in charge of their portfolios. Recently, we gave even judges more responsibilities because we have very many areas that require leadership, and we have very many senior judges, readers in their own right, jurists who can do more than just delivering judgment. Just as I am here as the Chief Justice, my qualifications with the last magistrate is the same. We are all holders of a degree in law and a postgraduate diploma in law. So therefore, everybody is substantive in terms of learning in law and in their ability also to take other leadership positions. We have portfolios. Every judge in the Supreme Court is ending a portfolio. Justice Renaura is the chair of our ICT, and you know ICT is critical. It cuts across everything that we do. We are trying to digitize the last court at the last mile. And that's a huge responsibility to make sure that we embrace digital hearings. People don't have to travel for miles to come to court. You can sit at your home. Like the other day we had one case involving a litigant in Marindi, and he sat in a sitting room and engaged with this device. And we were on the screen, wherever we were, some were at home, I was here. And the gentleman was so happy he submitted. We went and wrote a judgment, it was read, and he received it at his sitting room. And he was elated. You know, so this is how technology is changing things and making work easy for us. So everybody in the Supreme Court is handling a very serious portfolio. Another key thing I need to mention is security. You've read in the press that Judiciary has established a police unit. This is some activity that has been in the works for the last 10 years, if I remember correctly. And since I assumed office, everywhere I went, there were complaints, judges saying they have no security. This building, even you journalists who come here, you have found you could just enter anytime easily. We were sitting dark. I was even told there were people attempting to come and bomb this place, but they were intercepted far away. So when I looked at the file, I saw, you know, this has been going on for the last 10 years. I engaged the IG and also the CS Interior. I said, the same way Parliament as a police unit, the railways as a police unit, Judiciary is serving Kenyans as a arm of government with 130 court stations all over the country, including the headquarters, Milimani, where we are dealing with corruption cases. The magistrates there told me, please, Chief Justice, help us. We feel very insecure because of the kind of cases we are handling. Even the people who are charged in that court enter there with guns in their pockets, you know, and there's nothing they can do. So this is a milestone. We've been able, through the leadership of Justice Ouko, who chairs the Committee on Security, to have a police unit now established in the judiciary with a senior Commissioner of Police leading that unit with 3,000 police officers deployed to us as our installations and others to give security to judges. Because of the nature of the work that they do, they require security. I have a big vision for this judiciary, and it's a vision that cannot really be realized by one person. It's a vision that needs support of everybody. Because I envisage a judiciary that is independent, that is completely well structured and well resourced in terms of money and in terms of human resource, that is serving Kenyans. Kenyans do not have to walk 175 kilometers to access justice, to access the nearest court. So I have a big dream which even scares me. But that's what it is said, that unless the dream is big enough to scare you, then it's not a dream. It's not a dream. So I have a big dream of what I envisage to be the judiciary of Kenya.
Well, as we proceed, the next question was on the rulings that we are seeing in the judiciary. They seem to be hitting on the state. Is this a new order, or are you trying to hit back to the state?
Wow, that's an amazing question, because we judges deliver our judgments or ruling according to the law, according to the facts that are before us. We've taken an oath of office to serve Kenyans, to deliver justice without fear or favor, and not to be influenced by anything else other than the law, the Constitution. It would be very unfortunate if any judge or magistrate wrote a judgment to hit at the government. That is unfortunate, and it cannot happen, because that is against the oath of office.
And what would you say of the views of judicial activism?
That is also another term which is being used in very unfortunate circumstances. Because like I say, I view a party who has been unsuccessful, disgruntled with the judgment. A litigant is expected to express their displeasure. They are human beings at the end of the day. So if I have come to court and I've lost the case, it goes, even in our African culture, nothing happens for nothing. So I say, this is a corrupt judgment, this is an illegal judgment, this is an activist judgment. For me, activism looks at the future. It's futuristic, it's progressive. It underscores respect for human rights, because you are trying to say, let us not behave in the same manner, the status quo. Let us shift the paradigm to look at the future, the human rights, the space that allows everybody to have their freedom of expression, their freedom of owning property, their freedom of exercising their human rights in all its facets. So it's a term that has been twisted in a very unfortunate manner. If a party is dissatisfied with a judgment, let them say where the judge had. Did the judge not take into account the law? Did the judge not take into account the evidence? Did the judge, in concluding this judgment, arrive at the wrong conclusion? Then I go to the Court of Appeal and tell the Court of Appeal this judgment is illegal or cannot stand the test of the time. But there is no ground of appeal that this is an activist judgment. What is it? Yes. So I think we need to let Kenyans know, when you are dissatisfied with a judgment, it is expected of you to feel unhappy and express yourself the way you want to express yourself, because this is a country with freedom of expression. But please engage the appellate so that you, at the end of the day, justice can be done, and you can feel like justice has been done.
We were able to see arrest of 2 judges. Are there any protocols that have been put in place to ensure that if such an issue comes up, there's a protocol that is followed for arrest of judges?
Yes, I'm happy you're mentioning protocols or guidelines, because that is what is required. Let me begin by saying and confirming that we judges, magistrates, we are not above the law. Even me, the Chief Justice, I'm not above the law. But we have the responsibility of guarding. We are the guardians of the Constitution. We are the guardians of our democracy. We are the guardians of the rule of law and the respect for human rights. We resolve disputes. So this is a very heavy responsibility that has been given to a judge. It is the office of the judge. It is exercised by a judge. It is exercised by a magistrate. So you are dealing with these magistrates or a judge who carries that heavy responsibility as the custodian of the very Constitution. And you are dealing with this judge who is capable of being in conflict with the law, who can take bribe or commit other criminal acts, being drunk and disorderly, because we are human beings at the end of the day. But when you come to arrest a judge from their chamber, when they are writing a ruling and ready to go to court and deliver, it doesn't engender trust and confidence in the judiciary, because judiciary is independent. So this is what we are saying. If a judge is in conflict with the law, just the same way you cannot go and arrest an MP who is about to go to the chamber for debate, or even raid the State House to arrest the president, the court, the judge's chamber is also a temple of justice. But it's not a temple of justice also to be misused by exchanging bribes in the chamber. We have the code of conduct. We have the Judicial Service Commission that is vested with the authority to deal with disciplinary matters. When you are arresting a judge or a magistrate, you have to remember this is the defender of the Constitution. And there is this other part which has been in conflict with the law. So come to the Judicial Service Commission and say, look, we have this evidence. Judicial Service Commission will call the judge or the magistrate, show them, and then if it discloses that an offense is demonstrated, then they can take the process. But the process is not to drag this judge to the police station to lock them, because judges are not running away. I mean, where is the judge running away from, surely, even if you take their statement and let them go home? But you see, the procedure of arresting and putting people in custody, you have to put them in that cell. It's of course meant for Kenyans, but this is a judge who is dealing with these other same people there. So this is why we are saying, please, let us dialogue, let us debate, let us discuss, and find a way of coming up with a guideline that guides the police on how to deal with the judges and magistrates to protect the dignity of the office of a judge or a magistrate, in that they are the guardians of the Constitution because of this other role that they play. So when that happened, there was a hue and cry because the judges, magistrates felt intimidated, felt like their independence is being interfered with, and there was also a hue and cry from members of public, this is interference, this is eating back. So what we did as the Judicial Service Commission, we called the CS, Interior, and the Inspector General for a dialogue, and we had a very successful dialogue where we came up with a committee that is going to work on this guideline. I believe when the guideline is ready to be discussed with Kenyans, it will be brought to Kenyans to discuss and say how would they like a judge or a magistrate dealt with, because there is this principle of coordination, collaboration, consultation, and the participation by Kenyans before any decision or policy is made that affects them. So this is what I'm working towards, because when I came in office, I know very many arrests had happened before. I did not hear this hue and cry. Chief Justice, what are you saying? I said, why are you bombarding me now? Is it because I'm a woman? I said, I look for solutions. And the solution I'm looking for is this protocol guideline that will bring this to an end once and for all.
Yes. And how soon should we expect it?
They are working on it. the committee is in place. We gave our nominees from Judicial Service Commission. I believe in the next few months they will tell us how far they have gone, because they must consult Kenyans. Yes.
Okay, and they say that a chain is as strong as its weakest link.
Yes.
And one of the problems that you've always had in the judiciary is corruption.
Yes.
How are you dealing with that at the moment?
Yes, corruption is a big problem in the judiciary and in the country. It is a stigma, it is a challenge everybody talks about, and everybody is looking for solutions. In the judiciary, we are working very hard to ensure that our judges, our magistrates and judicial officers live by ethical behavior according to the code of conduct in terms of service delivery. And we tell Kenyans, and I even take this opportunity to tell Kenyans, please don't bring us bribes. Don't bring judges bribes. Nobody should take a bribe to give you a service. You are entitled to this service because at the end of the day, we get a salary for the work that we do. So nobody should be facilitated in any way, because we are the Kenyans ourselves who perpetuate bribery by going to give bribes. Then the corruption cases that are here, as I said in my assumption of office speech, judiciary is not a parking lot for corruption cases. We need to expeditiously finish that backlog of cases. And we have given ourselves by December. We have looked at the systems and whatever may be impeding our delivery of justice there. You realize we work with others. You cannot succeed alone, because you need the police, the IG, and the DCI to collect credible evidence, to prepare the witnesses, and the DPP to prosecute those cases. You depend on others. And we recognize during this time of Corona, we have also been slowed down, because those cases, they have so many witnesses and so many accused persons charged in one charge. So if you have 26 accused persons during this Corona time, where would you put them? Because they will come with their lawyers, they will come with the witnesses. You will probably need a dome tent to conduct those proceedings. So we acknowledge there has been an interruption because of the pandemic, but we have had meetings. I personally have had meetings with the AntiCorruption Court magistrates to find out what support the Office of the Chief Justice can give them to be able to discharge their mandate there. And as the National Council on the Administration of Justice, that brings all of us together, the actors in the administration of justice, we came together and we all agreed that we need to finish those cases, especially those cases which have been there for 5, 6, 7 years. It's actually an embarrassment. And with my interaction with the judges and the magistrates in our leadership meetings, nobody wants to have in their docket a case that is more than 5 years. Everybody wants to succeed, everybody wants to deliver, everybody wants to be efficient. So we are looking at systems that we can bring, especially technology, helping them with the recording of proceedings. They ask for a device that can be able to transcribe and record proceedings, and we are working towards giving them that, because it takes a lot of time. In those cases, you find volumes and volumes of documents being produced. You find many, many witnesses in one case. So we understand the problems that they are encountering, but we are working very, very hard to make sure that we respond to the expectations of Kenyans to deliver justice expeditiously. No one wants to come to court year in, year out. Even the accused person, they get tired of coming to court for 7, 8, 9 years. You are coming to court. Yes.
Well, those changes are going to need funds.
Yes.
And in August, in the last, the month that has just ended, an agreement between the judiciary and the World Bank came to an end.
Yes.
Where does it leave the judiciary? How are you going to manage and move forward?
Yes, indeed, we are very grateful for that support we had from the World Bank that assisted the judiciary in many ways in constructing so many courts outside of Nairobi. In fact, when I came to office, that contract was to end on 31st of July. Another milestone is we were able to put up a case for the extension of the contract, which was extended up to 31st of October, which means that by the time they leave on 31st, most of the construction will be done. In fact, 98%, if not 100%, they will deliver 28 court stations that are being built under that JPIP program. We have entered into negotiations for JPIP Phase 2, because as you realize, we have so many needs. When I'm talking about what we have achieved in the last 100 days, I'm also looking at the big programs that we have to undertake, like building the Judiciary Training Institute. As you know, we were given notice to leave our premises in Muthaiga, where we were leasing. That premises was bought by another entity. I also came here and wrote an application to the CS RANDS asking for land for us to build the Judiciary Training Institute. And I'm happy to report to Kenyans, we were given 55 acres of land in Ngong after Shade to build a world-class judicial training academy where we can train judges, magistrates, judicial staff, because training is very central for us to continuously embrace the new ways of working, look at how we are performing, sharpen our skills, both in jurisprudence. We want our judges to really be the leaders in jurisprudence, and jurisprudence that is indigenous, jurisprudence that tells us how to solve our own cases in our own unique way. You know, like our land issues, our problems here in Kenya are unique from what is experienced in other parts of the world, in the Commonwealth. So this indigenous jurisprudence that is people-centered, justice that appeals to us because we understand it, is you know, to where we are going, the direction where we are going. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And even though the agreement has been extended, there are also talks of operationalizing the Judiciary Fund.
Yes, that's another milestone I'm very happy about. Mm-hmm. As you know, the Judiciary Fund is provided for in the Constitution 2010, and the Judiciary Transformation Framework, a very good blueprint that has guided us on our transformation of the judiciary, and also the Sustained Judiciary Transformation Framework, they all had an aspect of the Judiciary Fund. Because as you know, we can never be independent unless we have financial independence. Mm-hmm. We cannot say we are independent if we hire judges and we are running to Treasury, give us money for the judges, for their cars, give us monies to pay this bill. And you know those budgetary allocations are released also late. You can't plan. You have a work plan that tells you you have to do this on this day. And then the money comes when the what you are supposed to do was supposed to be started on day one, and the money you are supposed to get is for the quarter, and it's coming that 30 days before you can complete. Therefore, you engage in procurement that doesn't make sense, and there are some things you are unable to do. Then the money goes back to the Treasury. So with our own fund, we'll be able to manage the funds that we get within the work plan that we will draw. And I'm happy to report to Kenyans that we have authority to institutionalize, operationalize the Judiciary Fund. That's a big achievement for the judiciary. I cannot claim that success alone, but also pay tribute to my predecessors because they developed the Act of Parliament on setting up the Judiciary Fund and the rules and regulations. All have come to do is plug it, because now we have a committee from the National Treasury, the Central Bank, and from the Controller of Budgets, their technical team helping us to build our own financial system, which I'm told will be up and running, judicial IFMIS, so that we can migrate formally from the government IFMIS. We have our own IFMIS. It takes time to build it, to make sure that it is secure. You know, funds can also be siphoned. We can be given that money and it can walk away with gunny bags. So we are very keen on ensuring it's a very, very credible, stable, secure financial system that we are creating, which is going to secure the funding that is given to the judiciary to ensure that we deliver justice to Kenyans and money doesn't get siphoned.
We've not seen a cordial relationship between the judiciary and other arms of the government, especially the executive. As you're in as the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, what are you doing to ensure a cordial relationship between the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature in the same way as you try to maintain the independence of the judiciary?
Thank you very much, Sarafina. I think I'm very interested in building very cordial relationship. I'm a very cordial person. I don't like conflict because I spend all my life solving conflicts, so I don't create conflicts. I create an enabling environment wherever I go and whoever I interact with. And I believe it's in the best interest of the executive and also the legislature to have a government that works seamlessly. Because our laws are very well defined in the Constitution. The independence of the judiciary is secured in the Constitution. That we will operate without being told by anybody, directed by anybody, by any party or authority on how to decide our cases or on who to recruit as judges or magistrates. We are independent. But we are also interdependent because we are serving one Kenyan and we rely on budgetary allocation from the same source. Therefore, we must come together. In many places, we are rendering service together. We are working with the police, the prisons, the ODPP, the AG, the Law Society, Kenyans. We are serving Kenyans. So in this interdependence, we need to understand it. And in the National Council on the Administration of Justice, we are actually said, let us have an act of parliament, a bill that tells us how do we relate with each other without causing anxiety. If I'm seen today having a cup of tea with His Excellency the President, or even with the Speaker, people should not be anxious because we are not discussing a case. And indeed, we cannot discuss a case because the President cannot tell me how to decide a case. And I cannot also tell a judge how to decide a case. We are very hierarchical and we are very independent, and everybody owns their independence. Nobody wants to let go, and nobody can let go, and nobody wants to act against the Constitution. But this very same Constitution encourages us to collaborate, to coordinate, to cooperate and deliver. How do you deliver? If you are a three-legged stool and one stool is fallen, the whole stool will fall. So all of us must stand. Therefore, we must come together with dialogue. If there are challenges in the administration of justice, they ask me, what are you doing to speed up the delivery of justice? Kenyans are queuing up to us MPs, telling us our cases have been delayed, telling us, people are experiencing injustices of many, many forms. They are being killed, extrajudicial killings, no one is being charged, there is no law and order. And therefore, I must be concerned as the Chief Justice that we are living in a country that is safe and secure. So these broad issues in the administration of justice must be discussed. Budgetary allocations. I need to tell the President, please come to this court and see. It is falling down. You know, it has been condemned. So how can we expedite its renovation and also the building of the Supreme Court building with an headquarter for the judiciary that gives dignity to the service that we deliver, that Kenyans also feel proud to be associated with. So we will continue to dialogue, to seek forums where we can be with the speakers, the committees of parliament, for them to understand this big vision that I have, that it requires their support as well, because I cannot be able to deliver it alone without their support. Yes.
And so what do you tell the critics who tend to see you as an extension of the executive?
How can I be an extension of the executive? I am a judge. I have taken an oath of office. I understand exactly what that oath of office means. I spent the better part of my life as a practicing advocate, clamoring for constitutional reform that guarantees us democracy, the rule of law, and the independence of the judiciary, respect for human rights. I was a council member of the Law Society, of the East Africa Law Society. And when I became a judge, which decision have I given in favor of the executive where they do not deserve, which cannot stand the scrutiny of the law? So therefore, I think that is not true.
It's not true.
It is not true, and it cannot be true.
Okay.
Yes.
And you've also seen a legislative initiative to change the composition of the JSC. What is your view on that?
JSC is an independent constitutional commission. The commissioners who serve in the Judicial Service Commission have a security of tenure. If you have to remove a commissioner, you have to go through a rigorous process of they have been unable to perform their functions, or they have misbehaved, they have committed an offense, and therefore they are not suitable to be commissioners. And then you set up a tribunal to investigate and find out whether those allegations are true. So the Judicial Service Commission is ring-fenced by the Constitution. They have their security of tenure guaranteed by the Constitution. And they are representative. We have representatives of the Law Society. We have the representatives of the judiciary, or the courts, the magistracy, the High Court, and the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. We have the representation of the executive and also the members of public. So I don't know what kind of law reform that can be brought. It's a constitutional reform.
Reducing the number.
And the constitutional reform that you are probably having in mind is within the BBI, which is a live matter in court, is sub judice. I cannot be able to comment on it. Yes.
Okay. And the other day we celebrated the 11th anniversary of the 2010 Constitution.
Yes.
And you also participated in the clamor for constitutional review of the 2010 Constitution. How effective are you seeing the Constitution being implemented, or are we rushing it now that we tend to propose amending sections of the Constitution?
I actually participated in the clamor for the reform of the previous Constitution. When I was an advocate and when I was the chairperson of the Federation of Women Lawyers. This new Constitution 2010 found me as a judge.
Okay.
As a judge, I'm independent, I'm impartial, I can't take a position on whether you need to reform it or not, because these are disputes that will come to me as a judge to decide. So the only way I can interact with them is when they come to me as a dispute to resolve whether we need to reform or not. But in terms of the gains of the 2010 Constitution, they are numerous. that constitution is transformative. One, it has transformed the judiciary. The judiciary under 2010 constitution and the previous constitution is not the same. We are completely independent, and we are moving towards complete independence when we get our budgetary allocation. Judges are independent. The society itself has also benefited a lot. Devolution, which everybody is celebrating, is as a result of this 2010 constitution. Affirmative action, a society that embraces gender parity and gender inclusiveness, because the society is made up of men and women. There is something for everybody in that constitution. Talk of children, there are phenomenal provisions in the constitution that tells us how to protect and promote the rights of our children so that they can realize their full potential. Talk of the elderly, the marginalized, people with disability, the vulnerable groups, respect for human rights. Our Bill of Rights is the best in the world. So there is something to celebrate. But 11 years is a short time to be able to say really it has all been implemented. But it's a lot of work in progress for us to continue focusing on the gains and how we never can undermine the gains we have made, but build on them. For instance, there were no women in the judiciary before the Constitution 2010. Those of you who are old enough, in 2012, when we joined the Court of Appeal, there wasn't a single woman. There were 13 men, judges of the Court of Appeal. So we came 5 of us to bring gender parity because JSC is mandated by the Constitution to ensure that in all the recruitment, they take into account gender representation. So even women are now in the positions of leadership, courtesy of the affirmative action spelled out in the Constitution and the 2/3 gender rule that requires every public body should embrace gender equality in their recruitment. So JSC is an equal opportunity employer now. In all the employment we do, we always ask ourselves, are we compliant with the Constitution? Yes.
And speaking of the 2/3 gender bill, your predecessor gave an advisory for Parliament to on the same issue of the 2/3 gender bill. What is your stand in regards to his advisory opinion?
Unfortunately, also I can't comment on that. It's a live matter in court. So
okay.
We'll just leave that one out. But my plea to all people in public positions, public offices, discharging a public mandate, the Constitution tells us what to do. To always look at the Constitution and ensure there is gender parity, because the society is made up of men and women, and nobody can say that we cannot get women to serve in any position. Women are there qualified. Yes, it's just that we have to be aware of it and sensitive about it. Yes.
As we get to the end of the interview, what should Kenyans expect from you as the Chief Justice moving forward?
Justice that cuts across all of us, because everybody wants justice. I want a Kenyan society that is aware of their rights, that can guard their rights, that carries the agency of knowing that I can also resolve my own disputes. I can also go to court. I can use the multi-door approaches that there are, especially in the families. I look forward to a society that does not thrive in conflict. We always look for solutions to resolve our conflicts ourselves. Just like the Bible says, if you have a conflict with a brother, try and resolve it And if you can't resolve it, call another brother to listen and you resolve. This is the way we should live, a society that is really conflict-free. And now that we are going towards the general elections, it's just for Kenyans to see themselves as agents of justice. What I want to be done unto me, I also want to done to the other person. Yes. Now,
on your personal capacity, just from matters judiciary and administration, in person, whom have you met in your life, or what book have you come across in your life that has greatly impacted you to be the person you are today?
Yes, I've benefited from mentorship by very incredible Kenyans. My own mother, through discipline in everything that she did, commitment to hard work, and the total resolve to bring up her children in a godly way, a prayerful woman. You know, my siblings, my sister, but one who had a real impact on me when I was growing up is Professor Rea Marango. She got married early, just like I did. She went to school when she was already married with the children. She rose to be the first professor in East Africa, the chancellor of the university, one of the very big private universities we have, Nasarine. You know, a very loving wife and mother. So she inspires me in many, many, many ways. You know, for me to have looked at her from early age when I was a teenager, for her to have allowed me in a space to interact with her. She was in a very high position as a professor in the university. She and her husband and their children who had come from the US, who are speaking in American accent, and here I am with my Kimeru. But, you know, she allowed me in their space. You know, for me to look at them and say, you know, it is possible. It is possible for me to go to school and distinguish myself and have a family and be a successful professional and, you know, be a happy family. So I've looked up to that. I've looked up to so many other people who have encourage me. Right now I'm reading a book by Obama, President Obama, Promised Land, a book he wrote after he left office, and he has chronicled the challenges he had when he went into office as the president, to deal with the challenges that he found in the office. Economic downturn of the whole American economy was crumbling. Putting together a team of staff to help him. It has inspired me, because when I came to this office, there were also shocks that I received. That this is an office, I did not even have staff, because the staff of the office of the CJ are attached to the CJ. So when the CJ leaves, he leaves with the staff. So I just came here to find one secretary, Madam Grace, who has been here for a long time, but she was on retirement. She was told to hold on, to hand over to me when I come. And here I ran, everybody is expecting me. The Supreme Court wants me, Judicial Service Commission wants me, NCAJ wants me. Challenges, I don't have staff. I have to hire staff, and you know how difficult it is to hire staff. So I've made recommendations now to JSC that we should have permanent staff for the Office of the Chief Justice, and Directorate of Legal, and Directorate of Information, Finance, and all that offices. And then the Chief Justice can be around to have advisors that are attached to the tenure of the CJ, because nobody can hire for you an advisor. Nobody can hire for you a lawyer, because they can misadvise you, and who do you blame? So those advisors are personal to the Chief Justice. So that is the book I'm reading, and it's helping me also navigate these problems and challenges that I'm encountering along the way.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. That's where we put a cap on tonight's interview with you. Thank you for according us this opportunity. For our viewers, we have been speaking to the 15th Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya and the 3rd under the 2010 Constitution. Thank you very much also for your time. Do have yourself a good night. Goodbye.